The night everything broke inside me began with a single truth I could no longer outrun. I am the billionaire who discovered Atlas III. I was a message from the future. I was standing beneath the glass dome of the South Observatory room inside my mansion, a circular space where I kept my personal telescopes and sky-tracking equipment. It was all made of marble, glass, and silence. It was mid-afternoon, sunlight pouring across the floor, but my chest felt darker than the room. A tremor under my feet made me freeze. At first, I assumed it was the climate control system adjusting. But then the entire east wing of the mansion shuddered, the glass panels of the dome quivered, the chandeliers rattled, and every security monitor along the curved wall flickered before locking onto the same impossible image. Atlas III, visible in the daylight sky. Elongated, fractured, glowing with a soft blue pulse, slow, rhythmic, deliberate. A comet shouldn't glow like breath, and yet it did. I grabbed my phone and called Dr. Hale. The moment the word Atlas left my mouth, the call died. The screen went black. The Wi-Fi dropped. Even the backup generators, which were supposed to be redundant to a fault, collapsed. My mansion, normally a fortress of technology and power, suddenly felt like a trap tightening around me. Then every screen in the observatory turned white at once. Flat. Silent. Waiting. Geometric symbols began to form rotating spirals, intersecting lines, shifting patterns. Not a language I knew, not a code I had seen. And yet something in me reacted like I had seen it before. My pulse quickened. My throat tightened. Recognition without memory, the worst kind. I should have felt thrilled. This was the kind of discovery my father always expected me to make. But instead I felt shame. I saw him again in my mind, the day of my mother's funeral. He wasn't unkind. He wasn't cold. He was contained. He put a hand on my shoulder, squeezed once, and whispered, "You don't have to break in front of them." Not today. He wasn't telling me not to feel. He was telling me he didn't know how to help me if I did. That was his way of loving, structured, stoic, imperfect, and I had inherited it too well. Years later, I turned that lesson into a lifestyle. I built an empire by staying emotionally unreachable. I confused efficiency with strength, distance with control, silence with success. Now, in my own home, with the universe speaking through symbols I didn't deserve to understand, that old facade cracked. My hands trembled, my breath hitched. I saw every deal where I'd been ruthless, every person I pushed away, every holiday I skipped because the market wouldn't wait. All the moments I chose productivity over people, solitude over connection, control over vulnerability. The room dimmed. A low resonance moved through the dome, gentle but honest, vibrating straight into my bones. My heart aligned with it. The symbols slowed, then rearranged into a phrase I somehow understood the moment I saw it. "You are not separate." My vision blurred. My chest tightened, and then the observatory faded away. For a heartbeat, I stood in another place, a coastline under a sky of pale glass. People moved slowly, peacefully. Children laughed without fear. Adults spoke gently, touching each other's shoulders as if connection was natural, not rare. The entire world felt lighter, awake, restored. Not fantasy, memory of a future trying to reach us. I blinked and the vision snapped back into the dome. But something inside me stayed in that world. Atlas III pulsed again overhead. The symbols on the screens shifted one last time, forming a single spiraling shape. I didn't know the characters, but the meaning rose in me as clearly as my own name. "It begins now." The temperature dropped. My breath fogged. The glass panels bowed inward by a fraction of an inch, as if the mansion itself leaned toward the message. For the first time in years, I didn't feel hollow. I felt exposed, seen, invited. The lights died across the entire mansion, every lamp, every hidden strip, every sign of civilization. Only the soft blue glow from Atlas III lit the dome. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Steady. Crossing the marble behind me. No doors had opened. No alarms were triggered. Someone was there. I turned toward the sound, every muscle tight, as the message burned through my chest with terrifying clarity. Atlas III, I wasn't passing by our world. It had come to demand the truth. I didn't sleep that night, not after what happened in the observatory dome. The message kept burning in my chest, but as soon as I turned toward the footsteps, the room was empty. Whoever had been there vanished the instant I faced it. I stood there for a long moment, listening, but the mansion stayed completely silent. There was no one to blame the sound on. Just the echo of something that had come close enough to be heard, and then stepped back. It was still night outside, deep, quiet night, but Atlas III was visible through the glass roof, pulsing faintly even before sunrise. A comet shouldn't stay in the same position for hours. A message shouldn't linger this long. And yet there it was, steady as breath, as if it hadn't finished speaking. The symbol it left on my screens wouldn't get out of my mind. That white spiral, expanding, opening. I kept replaying the moment the words formed, "It begins now." And the footsteps that approached behind me. When I finally gathered the courage to turn around, no one was there. The mansion was silent. Too silent. I felt watched, but not by someone. By something I needed answers. Real ones. The message wasn't random. It was directed, guided, so I powered up an emergency handheld device, completely offline, never connected to any network. The moment the screen lit, the same spiral appeared again, glowing softly. Then the device pulsed once and displayed coordinates, a very specific location. My stomach dropped. I knew that place. Not because I had been there recently, but because it was tied to one of the memories I avoided most. The old cliffside observatory. My father used to take me to when I was young. I hadn't returned since the night we argued for the last time. That night still hung between us even long after he died. I wasn't sure I was ready to face that place again. Still, I couldn't ignore the call. So I left the mansion. I walked through the long marble corridor, past the silent fountains and empty halls, out to the private landing pad. The pilot asked no questions when I told him where we were going. He simply fueled the helicopter and lifted us into the dark sky. The horizon was still black, but Atlas III glowed like a living ember. During the flight, the spiral symbol appeared again on the device, flashing, then stabilizing, as if confirming I was headed in the right direction. The closer we got, the tighter that pressure in my chest became, not fear, recognition. A feeling I didn't want to admit. We landed near the old observatory grounds. The place had been abandoned for a decade. The air was colder than it should have been, and the grass around the building moved in a slow, unnatural pattern, as if stirred by something unseen. My breath misted in front of me, even though the temperature wasn't low enough for that. Inside, the dust on the floor shifted in the shape of soft spirals. My footsteps echoed against the stone walls as I made my way down the corridor. Memories rose inside me. My father's voice explaining constellations. The night he told me love mattered more than legacy. The night I laughed at him for being too sentimental. I swallowed hard. The device vibrated again. A single door at the end of the hallway glowed faintly, just enough to catch my attention. I reached for it slowly. When I opened it, the entire room lit up. Not with the electricity. With a pale blue shimmer that seemed to float in the air itself. And there, hovering above the center of the room, was a projection of Atlas III massive, alive, rotating slowly. Its fractures glowed in blue-white tones now, not the teal-orange from before. Beneath the comet, lines of light formed patterns on the ground, looping and curling like strands of time folding on themselves. My breath caught. My heartbeat synced with the rhythm in the room. A deep hum vibrated up through the floor. I stepped closer, feeling the memories in my chest twist. The grief, the guilt, the distance between the man I became and the man my father hoped I would be. Then the projection shifted. New symbols appeared around Atlas III, clearer than before. Pulsing in sequence, forming a message I could almost read. The shapes arranged themselves into 3 simple lines. And just as I leaned closer to understand, the entire chamber trembled once. A sound behind me, a soft inhale that didn't belong to me, echoed in the darkness. I turned slowly. Someone, or something, stood in the doorway, watching me. The figure in the doorway at the abandoned cliffside observatory didn't move. For a moment my body locked in place, the way it did when I was a child waking from nightmares I pretended not to have. The pale blue glow from the comet projection filled the abandoned chamber behind me, and I stood suspended between light and shadow. Between what I understood and everything I didn't have the courage to face. When the figure finally stepped forward, the air shifted, not colder, softer, like the room exhaled. My heart hammered, but not from fear. Something about the presence felt familiar, The same recognition I felt when the message first appeared in my mansion, a pull I couldn't explain. "Who are you?" I whispered. It didn't answer. It only tilted its head, as if studying the parts of me I'd spent my life hiding: shame, regret, the places where I had gone numb. The faint shimmer around it brightened, and the spiral symbol formed in the air between us. The same white spiral that had dragged me out of denial. My breath caught. This wasn't random. This was directed. The spiral expanded, collapsed inward, and struck me with a memory so vivid the observatory evaporated. I was 10 again, standing beside my father on the cliff outside this building. His hand rested on my shoulder. Everything out there is alive in ways we don't understand. Don't harden your heart trying to control what you were meant to learn from. Then the scene dissolved. Another vision replaced it. The coastline I had seen in the first message. People speaking softly. Children without fear. And this time I saw him, a version of myself standing among them, older, grounded, with a hand placed on someone's shoulder the same way my father once placed his on mine. A vision of who I could become. The projection snapped away. My knees shook. I braced against the wall, overwhelmed. The figure stepped closer, shimmering like heat over water. "It's not punishment," I whispered. "It's guidance." The figure froze, as if acknowledging the truth. I took a breath, the first real one in years. I don't want to keep people at a distance anymore. I don't want to be the man my father feared I'd become. A flicker of light pulsed inside the figure. A nod. The comet projection brightened. Its fractures pulsed in 3 slow waves, like a countdown or an invitation. Mu symbols formed along the chamber walls. Not warnings, but coordinates. A path. My heart wasn't a stone anymore. It felt like a compass. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. The figure raised an arm and pointed toward the far corridor, toward the outer cliff, toward whatever waited next. Before I could move, the chamber trembled violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. The projection flared white. Every symbol snapped into a single line of light. A voice echoed behind me, not an inhale. A voice, "You're not alone." I spun toward the doorway, and for a split second, before the figure vanished, the shimmer around it stabilized. Only long enough for me to see what had been hidden until now. The outline wasn't foreign. It was another. It was me, older, calmer, steadier. The man from the visions, the man I was meant to become. The symbols along the wall pulsed toward the corridor he had pointed to, like a door waiting to be opened. Not a door to another place. A door to another self. The tremor shook the chamber again, harder. Light faded where the figure had stood. And the truth settled into me with absolute clarity. The future wasn't calling me to escape. It was calling me to transform.